Well, there's been a lot of speculation as to what a Trump presidency could mean for us here in Canada. According to real estate representatives at Royal LePage, it could send Canadian home prices spiraling upwards. And joining us now to talk more about this is Adil Dinani from Royal LePage. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so why do you think prices are going to go up? Because half of America is going to come and move here?
You know, I think time will tell in terms of the direction of where Canadian real estate prices go. I think for now, what we know is that there's a deep sense of concern amongst a large portion of the American population on the direction Donald Trump will be taking their country. So naturally, we see a renewed sense of interest on folks looking to potentially make the move to Canada. Not necessarily, traditionally we've seen Canada be a destination for foreign capital. A lot of Americans have bought recreational property here, but the conversation's evolving now. The conversation's more about finding a country or a place where their values and principles are more aligned with the country's, and that's where Canada is in the spotlight.
Right. Now, of course, the Canadian immigration website crashed during election coverage on Tuesday night, so that would indicate that people are at least searching for information about moving to Canada.
That is very indicative of the level of interest that Canada is getting. So that, alongside the fact that a lot of folks in the U.S., I think there was a record number of Google searches on how to move to Canada the night of the election as well. So there's certainly a sense of interest on where it goes. I think right now folks are at the curiosity stage.
Right.
Will President-elect Donald Trump move forward with his policies? How disruptive will it be? And at that point, I think people are at that information gathering stage, and it'll still take time and a lot of research, I'm sure, before moves actually take place.
Right, because a lot of people do threaten, no matter who is elected to office every 4 years, people do threaten to move. I do know people who moved here during the Bush years, and they actually took the time and researched it and took the months of waiting and actually did move to Canada. But do you have any idea what percentage of people actually follow through on their promise to move?
Hard to say. I would think naturally a move and a shift geographically would be aligned with another job opportunity. Perhaps people are now looking at what their options are, but in terms of specific numbers, really hard to peg.
Now, Metro Vancouver's housing market seems to have cooled lately, and it's still up in the air. The jury is still out to see how much the foreign buyers tax has affected at least Metro Vancouver's market. Do you think that would dissuade Americans from moving to Metro Vancouver? They may look elsewhere in Canada for real estate?
This conversation's deep and it's different. It's not necessarily about finances. It's about a fundamental shift in the thinking of the policies of their leader. So will a foreign buyer tax impact some? Maybe. Will it impact others? I don't think so. I think the notion of Canada being a very inclusive country, having very safe, stable political and financial systems, also this sense of inclusiveness and openness to immigration, I think really shine a lot of attention on Canada presently.
Right, and not to mention Vancouver, of course, is the best city in Canada.
So it is certainly.
If you're going to move to Canada, you'd of course move here.
Definitely.
Well, let's talk about the impact of the Canadian dollar and the low Canadian dollar. The Canadian dollar did take a dip after Trump was elected. Do you think that that's attractive to Americans? I mean, I guess our real estate prices are discounted by 30%, essentially.
Sure. So now, Samantha, back to your point about the foreign buyer tax of 15%. We are seeing the foreign buyer tax, in fact, impact prices certainly on, I would say, the $1 to $3 million price range. And $1 million price tag nowadays in Vancouver is pretty commonplace. Yes. So we see those prices pull back a little. It may, in fact, offset the foreign buyer tax and create another incentive due to the currency benefit for Americans to make the move.
Right. So you'd think that Canada would be a place that they would look to because of that. Other countries, their currency might not go as far.
I agree. Yeah, totally. Just similarly to when the Canadian dollar was in parity with the U.S. dollar, a lot of Canadian folks look to Sunbelt states such as Florida and Arizona as a place to invest and to live for a part of the year. I think Americans will also take advantage of the currency benefit.
So is your phone starting to ring since Tuesday?
We've had a lot of conversations. No moves are imminent, but but certainly the conversation's evolving.
All right, Adil, thank you so much for coming in today and
Thanks
talking to us
me.
about this.